Hey guys, it's Arya filling in tonight for Adam. If you want to see more of me, you can find my channel linked in the description box down below. I think this is constitutional crisis status. I think that when you have a co-president, a billionaire-in-chief, the first friend, the best buddy, the biggest government contractor in the Oval Office doing press conference, and that man is advocating for judges to be impeached. Because why? Because they disagree with the Trump administration. Except there's one issue with that. The whole point of the checks and balance system that we have in our United States Constitution is to check the power on each branch of government. So if one branch of government is checking another branch of government, that sounds like the Constitution working exactly as it's supposed to.
You cannot have a low-level district court judge filing an injunction to usurp the executive authority of the President of the United States. That is completely absurd. And as the executive of the executive branch, the President has the ability to fire or hire. And you have these lower-level judges who are trying to block this President's agenda. It's very clear. And as I just cited, I was appalled by the statistic when I saw it this morning. In 1 month, in February, there have been 15 injunctions of this administration in our agenda. In 3 years under the Biden administration, there were 14 injunctions. So it's very clear that there are judicial activists throughout our judicial branch who are trying to block this president's executive authority. We are going to fight back. And as anyone who saw President Trump and his legal team fighting back, they know how to do it. He was indicted nearly 200 times, and he's in the Oval Office now because all of the indictments, all of these injunctions have always been unconstitutional and unfair. They are led by partisan activists who are trying to usurp the will of this president, and we're not going to stand for it. Thanks, guys.
Tell me you've never taken an American history class without telling me that you've never taken an American history class. The executive branch cannot properly function if activist liberal judges can unilaterally block presidential actions over the entire country. I wish that we had this energy when Eileen Cannon used her judicial power to act on a case that wasn't even in her district and demand that Jack Smith's report against Donald Trump for his false electorates be delayed. We didn't care about judicial overreach then, because we only care about it when it's hurting us. The Trump administration will immediately fight back against these absurd and unconstitutional orders. The American people overwhelmingly voted for President Trump's agenda, and it will be fully implemented. I find it absolutely hysterical that Caroline Leavitt is complaining about the amount of injunctions that have been put on the Trump administration so far, as compared to the Biden administration's entire 4 years. Maybe if your president wasn't doing illegal things, we wouldn't have to have all of these court cases and lawsuits against him. These are all for wrongful terminations. There's an entire section for the budget freezes from the foreign aid. There's an entire section from him trying to rewrite the Constitution by reinterpreting and getting rid of birthright citizenship. And all of the suits against Elon Musk alone, these are all Musk. This is a president that is deporting and disappearing people in the country for exercising their First Amendment right, who is suing pollsters for exercising their First Amendment right, who is taking away and revoking security clearances of law firms that have defended people that have gone against him because what? Because he sees anyone associated with them as the enemy. This is someone who would rather have a Russian dictator by his side than a senator from California. Like, is it really that big of a shock that there would be some checks being put on him when he is absolutely obliterating any type of formal legislative policy being made? Checks and balances, the entire idea of equal, separate but equal powers is what makes America so special, okay? When you lose checks and balances is when you lose democracy. If you look at Hugo Chavez, he was elected in Venezuela and then used his power to rewrite the Constitution, pack the Supreme Court, and centralize all of his power to the executive branch. Viktor Orban won all branches of government, weakened the judiciary branch, rewrote the constitution, rewrote election laws, made it more favorable to him, and completely suppressed any media going against him. In Germany, in the 1940s, the National Socialist Party took over all branches of the government and immediately started using emergency powers, claiming national emergencies to overuse their executive power, consolidate it into the executive, and get rid of anyone that was going against them, any dissenting views. You have to look at warning signs in history before you get to the actual boiling point, okay? It's never just one event that just, all of a sudden now we're in a world war, okay? It's never just one trigger. It's always a buildup of small things. And right now, Donald Trump is doing them all at once. And we have no one in government stopping it. The founding fathers knew that this was going to be an issue being brought up eventually in the Constitution. They mention it in the Federalist Papers. Okay. Federalist Paper number 51, it says, quote, "Ambition must be made to counter ambition. The interest of man must be connected with the constitutional rights of the place. It may be a reflection on human nature that such devices should be necessary to control the abuses of government. But what is government itself but the greatest of all reflections of human nature? If men were angels, no government would be necessary." Very philosophical. What he's getting at here is men are greedy. Men want power. Men have ambition. Men are going to want to keep all of the power to themselves, okay? The way that the government is structured, all branches of government should constantly be fighting each other for power. You would never expect one of the branches, legislative, to just completely roll over. Chuck Schumer just voted for closure on the government spending bill, on the CR, the continuing resolution. It just got passed. Why? Why are we doing that? Why are we giving wins to the Republicans? Why are we completely giving up our constitutionally given power? Listen, if you guys don't want the power that was given to you, I'm sure there's a lineup of people that will, like, step down, get out of office. If you're not ready to fight the fight that needs to be fought and actually do your job, uphold your oath to the Constitution, and use your legislative power to actually check the executive, to check the judiciary. Like, what are you doing? The judiciary, by the way, that's supposed to be impartial. And if you think that they're not impartial, you can impeach a judge for not being impartial and upholding the law. You cannot impeach a judge for grossly undermining the will of the people and destroying America. You can't impeach a judge because they're not following whatever agenda, whatever populist agenda you sold to the American public. It doesn't matter. That's not based in law. That's not based in a statute, in legislation. This is not normal. We are in a constitutional crisis. The executive is not supposed to have this much overreach in the judiciary, in the legislative, to the point where even MAGA is bragging about how much control they have.
A Republican takeover, a Republican connect of all three branches of government. It's real, and in 2025, it's happening. I'm going to do the math for you in a second, but first, lots of you have been asking, what does that mean constitutionally for the checks and balances that we're supposed to have? It means elections have consequences. Voters voted, and this is what the majority wanted. Since the Republicans are now projected to control the United States House of Representatives and also want control of the Senate, that means Republicans will control the entire legislative branch. Of course, Donald Trump won the White House, so Republicans will also control the executive branch. And conservatives hold a supermajority of the judicial branch in the highest court in the land, the United States Supreme Court. Hence, the trifecta. Now, technically, one branch can check the other, but if they're all on the same team, it's not likely. But, anything can happen. Now, what's going to be interesting?
No, it's just not the way that it's supposed to work. This isn't normal. This isn't constitutional. This isn't the way that our government was structured. This is an authoritarian regime. This is the Trump regime.